Now I get it, going electric can still be a total minefield. There's worries about the compromises you might have to make, the infrastructure, charging, essentially how much it all costs as well. I mean, we all want to do the right thing for the planet and our own conscience, but ultimately the numbers need to make sense, right? And then of course there's that feeling that an electric car might just be, well, a bit weird to drive. However, what if we told you that there is a practical, useful electric car out there that you can buy used for less than half the price of a brand new one? Haha, with relatively low miles under its belt, of course. That's also about as intimidating as the average teddy bear. I thought that might get your attention. Welcome to the very comforting world of the pre-loved Vauxhall Corsa-e. Sorry mate, but I don't think I'm going to be needing you anymore. Should we take him along for the ride anyway? Now, I can't believe how many great deals I found online for pre-loved Corsa-es, but before I share them with you, just a little reminder to subscribe to the channel, put those notifications on for electrifying.com. We've actually got loads of videos about pre-loved electric cars coming your way, so you wouldn't want to miss them. Right, so here's the thing. Back in 2020, Vauxhall launched the Corsa-e, a pure electric version of the very popular Corsa hatchback. Developed in conjunction with Peugeot, the Corsa-e is actually the same car underneath as the Peugeot E208. So there's a 46 kilowatt hour battery that powers the front wheels with 136 brake horsepower of electric power. Think of them a bit like non-identical twins. The official WLTP range was all the twos, 222 miles, and there was 100 kilowatt of DC charging, meaning it would charge from 10 to 80% in just 26 minutes, which jumps the range from 18 miles to 144. Plus, you could upgrade the standard 7.4 kilowatt AC charging to 11 kilowatts if you felt the need. And I've got to be honest, that's all pretty good for a car of this size. It cost from £31,130 to £34,630 and was available only in the top 2 trim levels, meaning that no matter which Corsa-e you chose, it was well equipped, if perhaps a bit pricey for a Corsa. Now that is all wonderful stuff, properly useful of course, but I do think one of the big selling points of the Corsa-e was the fact that it was just so normal. It's just a Corsa, right? A familiar small hatch that just happens to run on electricity. So unless you actually clock the little badges, then it could just be one of the ones with an engine. Now I do appreciate that some of us like the wacky, the futuristic, each to their own, but there's something to be said for being able to just blend in. Nothing wrong with that. However, well over 30 grand for a Corsa? Well, it felt like a lot of money for private buyers. So actually, what we saw happening was that quite a few people went to fleets, where they actually made more sense for tax purposes. And those fleets had 3-year deals, and they're all now coming to an end. So what does that mean? Well, Corsa-es are popping up left, right and centre on the second-hand market. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because there are loads of Corsas with low mileage for sale and lots of supply means nice competitive prices. Just take a look at these. Basically lots of choice at the 13 to 14 grand mark. There are cheaper ones with higher mileage, but 13 to 14 grand will get you an SE Nav Premium with less than 20,000 miles on the clock and actually in really good nick. There are even a couple for that money with less than 2,500 miles on the clock, which is basically brand new. And you know what? You could do a lot worse. It might be a little bit plain, but this is still a decent sized super mini. There's not quite as much space in the back as you'd get with a car that's designed from the outset to be pure electric, and the boot is slightly smaller than a standard Corsa because some of the batteries are under the floor, but it's still not bad. Plus, small car competition like the Mini E, Fiat 500 or Honda E might offer retro cool, but they don't offer anything like the space or range for the money. Right, come on then Teddy, let's do this. I think this drives really quite nicely. I would almost go as far to say that the Corsa-e is the best Corsa to drive out of all of them.
Okay, it's probably not the most exciting car in the world to drive, let's be honest. 0 to 62 miles per hour in just over 8 seconds, but it's nippy enough. What more do you need? This isn't the kind of car that you're going to go for a blast down a country road, let's be honest. But ultimately, there is nothing wrong with it. It rides nicely, it's smooth, the steering's good, it's light, it's easy, it's well balanced. It's also really easy to park, which I think is a nice little bonus, particularly if you live in a town or a city and trying to squeeze into tight spaces. Now, like most electric cars, it's got 3 drive modes. Eco, which it gives you the most range, but it only gives you 80 brake horsepower. Then you've got the default normal with 107 brake horsepower, and then whack it into sport if you want the full 136 brake horsepower. So obviously I'm going to keep it in the latter. Now, there is 2-stage brake regeneration. You just press the little B button down here. It's quite mild, but it does give you a little extra regen push. But I think ultimately this car is as simple as it gets when it comes to driving an electric car. If you want practicality, if you want ease of use, then this is going to make sense. So if you are making the switch for the first time, then maybe this is a car for you.
Now, there are a few things to watch out for though. 18 months ago, the Corsa-e was rebranded as the Corsa Electric, but it's the same car. And there have been a couple of special editions that have varying equipment, but generally you're looking at the base cars having a small 7-inch display inside, with only the better grades getting a 10-inch system. But they all have navigation, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay compatibility, and voice recognition. Step it up a bit, and there are even big car features like massaging seats and clever adaptive LED headlamps. Yes, please. As ever, when you're looking at buying a used car, watch out for curved wheels and any signs of fixing. Corsa-es tend to be used in urban environments and occasionally as pool cars, so that sort of stuff can add up. But there's good news there too. Because Vauxhall has been paying attention to fleet customers, repair, insurance and servicing rates tend to be really good, some of the cheapest on the market. The Corsa-e really does end up being properly cheap to run, clawing back some of the cost of purchase, which obviously tends to still be a bit higher than a petrol or diesel. The warranty stacks up as 3 years or 60,000 miles for the car and 8 years or 100,000 miles for the battery. So if you can find a slightly younger car in your price range, it might still have some manufacturer guarantee left for any faults. And there'll be 5 years plus of battery backup.
Okay, at this point, it is probably worth remembering that there's that twin sister knocking about. And do you know what? I think she might be the better looking one, the Peugeot E208, because I think it's just that little bit sharper looking than the Corsa-e, and it has a more interesting interior. However, not quite as cheap to buy or run. You've also got the MG4, which is probably better value new though, as a standard range car and a little bit bigger, but there aren't actually that many to choose from on the second-hand market yet. So in terms of competition, you might be looking at more on the lines of the Renault Zoe or the Nissan Leaf. Both really good cars. So in summary, if you're looking for a reasonably priced, practical second-hand EV with loads more years of service left in it, then I think you could do a lot worse than the Vauxhall Corsa-e. Perhaps we should start calling this the least intimidating first electric car ever. That's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Maybe you've got a better suggestion in the comments below. But if you do want to know more about the Corsa-e, the Peugeot E208, or their Super Mini competition, then you know what to do. Come and have a chat with us at electrifying.com. We do actually have loads more videos coming soon. There's an updated Corsa Electric coming soon with more range, which we can't wait to tell you about. So come on over, because we are here to clear the air at electrifying.com.